Cool. So I thought, what is a better way to sort of discuss this presentation? I thought I was going to give a crash course about the state of technology and our current technology state and what will be the future of what will be. And this is what I come up with. We live in a magical time, and it's so magical that there's a confluence of macro trends that are coming together that are essentially shaping the world in such a way that is so unprecedented and in such an amazing way. And the first macro trend that we're talking about is software is eating the world. Mark Andreessen, the partner of Andreessen Horowitz, 2 years ago said software is eating the world. Now, every industry is waking up quite disruptively, thinking about all your industries are essentially disrupted by software, right? We're talking about direct advertising company. Now it's owned by Google, right? It's software. The fastest growing telecom company, Skype, which is owned by Microsoft, software. You used to buy books on Borders and in Borders and other places like that. Now it's software, which is the largest bookstore, the largest shoe and now soon to be the largest retail store in the world. You used to read books, software now. You used to scrapbooking, software. You used to take notes offline, now Evernote, software. You used to listen to music, now Spotify, software. You used to buy dresses, now there's a 99 dresses where you could buy online and even trade online, software. Getting the picture, everything is disrupted by software. You used to take photos, now you could do it in Instagram, software. iTunes instead of Blockbuster, which went bust, software. And this is going on and on and on and on and on. Education is one of the things that that we are very passionate about at Freelancer. And again, this is disrupted by software companies like Udacity or Coursera. Coupon, now it's Groupon, software. You used to go to flea markets, now it's eBay, software. Healthcare, point of sales, financial planning, and so forth, right? Like it's all software. You used to have a physical banking, now you have Bitcoin, software. Education again, software. You used to hang out with friends, now you hang out in Facebook, software. And this is what Mary Merkel from Internet Trends really say about this, which is, it is essentially a reimagination of everything. Now think about your industry, and if it hasn't been disrupted by the software, it will be very soon. And I can't think of any industry that is not somehow affected by software. The second macro trend that we're talking about is internet penetration. 60% of the world's population are about to join the internet. And we're talking about 4 billion users that are about to come to the internet. And let's look at the penetration here. Obviously North America, Europe, Latin America, the penetration rate is quite high, but we're talking about Asia. 2 years ago when I gave this presentation, Asian internet penetration was what's at 19%, and that was 2 years ago. And now we're at 34.7%. They're coming fast, and they're coming really, really fast. And if you look at these top 10 sites, 86% of the users are already foreign. So that basically means that the developing countries are coming really, really fast to the internet. Let's look at that. There are twice as many Chinese in the internet now than Americans, right? And Indonesia is one of the top 3 in terms of the number of additions of internet users. And Asia is dominating it. I sort of found this quote from Bernard Salt. He mentioned that like Japan is declining in terms of the labor market, but India, on the other hand, which is one of the biggest Asia superpower country, is coming, and there's a net injection of literally 14 million laborers coming into it, and they're ready to work. Right? So 5 billion people that are about to come on the internet are on average wage of about $10 or less per day. And what do? The first thing that they're doing when they come to the internet is to find money, right, to raise their economic status. And there's never been an easier way to learn a trade. Everything is online now, right? This is run by Envato, which is sort of the place where you buy flash photography, sort of stock photography, and so forth. Right? You could essentially learn anything online now. This is a place where you could learn design skills and so forth for free. Right? Has anyone heard about Sebastian Thun? So he was sort of one of the pioneers of online education. Right? He thought, hey, he works at Stanford. He's a professor in Stanford. He thought, why do I need to teach 200 students, whereas I could teach millions of users online? So he literally released the course online to everyone, And he's also one of the founders of Udacity. And the idea is just enroll online. We'll mark your assignments. We'll mark your exams for free, right? And then if you pass, we'll even give you a certificate for free. And we're talking about 160,000 enrollments. This is 8.5 times more than Stanford population alone, right? And 23,000 students passed just on that course alone. And of the top 453 students, not a single one went to Stanford. We're talking about Bangladesh, Pakistan, Poland, and all the other developing countries. And that's amazing because I see a lot of interviews now. So applicants coming to me and they have all these courses listed. So I did a Coursera course, I did a Stanford online course, and it gave them credibility as much as just a normal Stanford student. And I actually took that really heavily when I look at interviewees and applicants. And they this gives Stanford an idea, right? At Stanford, they turn away 99.9% of their customers, right? They only accepted 0.1%, right? My boss is a Stanford University graduate, and like, what do you do with the 99.9%? Hey, that's an idea. Why don't we monetize them, right? For those people who couldn't come in and couldn't be accepted, why don't we offer them a free course, and if they pass, we'll give them a certificate for $10 and so forth, right? And imagine, and this is essentially the power of education, right? And we're so excited about it at Freelancer. We in Australia are promoting all this free education and so forth, and we believe this is the means to an end. When you're educated, everything could be solved. So Sebastian reckons that in 50 years, there will be only 10 institutions in the world delivering higher education. Well, from the look of it, we reckon it might just be 2 or 1, right? This is essentially internet, right? If you're a marketplace, you either be number 1 or you be nothing. Udacity is a marketplace. It's a buyer seller. Freelancer is a marketplace. We're talking about eBay. eBay is an online marketplace as well, right? Tell me number 2 in eBay. I can't think of one, right? It's number 1 and it's eBay. And it's a winner takes all. Now, there were 18,000 students in Stanford. There were 21,000 in Harvard. There were 1.6 million students at Udacity. And Coursera, which is also run by Andrew Ng, it's also a competitor, but it's also run from Stanford. They had 12 million students enrolling online. And we're talking about unprecedented education system here that essentially revolved around the world. And this literally could mean that there will be Bangladeshi or Pakistani or Indonesian getting Nobel Prize, right? So it's an amazing time that we're at. And what would you want to teach at Stanford to a class of 200? By the way, a year, it would take 40 years or 35 years for MIT to teach 160,000 students. It would take Sebastian 1 month to actually teach 160,000 students, right? So we're talking about different, and Khan Academy, everyone heard of this? This is an amazing thing, right? This guy wants to teach his cousin, and it's like, well, why don't I just build a video system, and this is what happens. And now I could literally find a Rocket Science 1, Rocket Science 2 course in the site. It's so amazing that there are now 40 languages, 244 million lessons delivered. Bill Gates actually put $20 million in it. And they have about 268 million views on their YouTube channels, more than MIT, 5 times, 6 times more than MIT. And simultaneously, every industry is now digitized. Like everything, right? Now we're doing AutoCAD and stuff like that, and we send it through files and so forth, right? The trend that Freelancer is believing in is 3D printing. We actually bought 5 3D printers over the last year, every time. Maker bought 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And this is amazing because now Matt, my CEO, could just print parts of his car when it's broken. And we print a lot of those. And 3D printing is one of the exciting trends that we're talking about here. And it's amazing because at Freelancer, for example, we even have a 3D printing skills where if you want to print anything, you could just run a contest and people would submit a 3D parts for you. And then you could print it, right? So it's amazing stuff going on with 3D printing. Obviously, you could 3D print guns and stuff as well, which is not very good, but yeah. Now, if you think about it, the world is kind of repeating itself 20 years later, right? And this is amazing, and it's repeating itself in Asia, right? It's essentially we have a scope to what is going to happen. We already have a scope to what's going to happen in the future just by looking at all the developed countries, right? We used to have products, right? China. Now it's moving to the services because it's never been an easier way to learn a trade. It's never been an easier way to learn to make money. Freelancer.com, for example, we have an Indian user. Our top Indian user makes about $1 million a year. Imagine that. You wouldn't be able to get that in India. And this is amazing stuff, and this is what we call, this is what Tom Friedman essentially called that the world is flat, right? Like essentially you could hire anyone from anywhere else, and because $200 in India or $200 in Indonesia is equivalent to $1,000 in their sort of respective currency, so that's amazing. So freelancer.com, we went public 2013 November. We're now about $500 million company. We have about 15 million users, about $2.7 billion worth of project posted, about 7.5 million projects contest posted. And I was thinking about, why don't I just show you guys what sort of all the Asian freelancers have done throughout the platform. So this is an industrial design of a water kettle done by a Bangladeshi for $240. So this is, freelancer.com essentially allows entrepreneurs to just think about anything on their chair and just turn that idea into a spark of reality, right? I've got a few people that used to work for me that thought, hey, I want to just sell iPod cases. They went to Freelancer, billed it for $50, and now they're making $300,000 a year, and they quit this job, which is deplorable, but he's doing a good thing. And on the other side, on the other developing world, we're essentially changing lives. We're talking about them earning $2,000, $3,000 a month now. So we started in May 2009, 5 years ago, and we're now one of the top websites globally by traffic. And in terms of, we like to think about it as sort of creating country in software, and sort of that ties into the Estonian e-citizen that we talked about earlier. And we are in the early stages of replicating a country in software. And majority of our freelancers are from Asia, by the way. And this is our top 10 freelancers, and I think 8 of our freelancers are from Asia. India accounts for 35% of our whole marketplace, right? They make 35% of the whole money, right? Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, we have about 500,000 users. Like in Indonesia, we only launched 2 years ago. We only had about 50,000 users 2 years ago. Now we have 500,000 users, right? It's amazing. And it's not just because we're good, it's just because the internet, people are coming on the internet and people are coming really fast. And these are the community that we have, essentially, that I want to show. And this is the power of crowdsourcing, right? So we thought, hey, what is a better way to essentially crowdsource showing your logo? So, hey, let's just crowdsource it. And the winner would get all. So this is actually attended by 4,000 people as a competition in Bangladesh. And there's one in Nepal. And there was one in Pakistan. I think he put it for free there. There was one in Pakistan again. And it's just amazing what these guys have done just by the power of crowdsourcing and contests. Philippines, and so forth. And the beautiful products that they have created, and this is sort of the thing that we try to do at Freelancer. We try to bust the myth that, hey, freelancers in Asia can't do stuff. That's not true. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean that it's not good, I do a lot of research, right? I do a lot of market sort of comparison, and the stuff that they do is so amazing. Right? So these are the stuff that they came up with, for $200, for $30, and so forth. Right, you could essentially create a puzzle app design for $55 by an Indonesian. You could create a design of a 3D printing fader for $64. Right, and if you want a logo, there's a contest platform that we could run. You have 70 entries, 70 ideas that you could get for your logo, and you only have to award the winner. And you have 70 entries, 70 ideas for only $175. And this is probably one of the most expensive ones. You usually can get a logo for $30, and you will get probably about 50 to 60 entries. And you could 3D modeling of a wardrobe for $90 for 69 entries and 69 ideas, and this is a winner. And I thought, why don't I just create something really crazy for $10? And I thought, hey, I'll give it a go. So I asked to design an optical store for $10, and this is what I get. Right? I was like, fuck, $10. And this is not just freelancer. The power of crowdfunding is everywhere, right? I mean, this happened a while ago, but it's just amazing that I want to show again, right? This ePebble stuff. If you go to any VCs, no one would want to fund you, right? Because it's such a stupid idea. Well, it was, right? And they're like, hey, why not just put in Kickstarters? You know what's amazing? Is that they had 68,000 backers, $10 million. That's pre-sales revenue, right? There's nothing else more amazing than to have a pre-sales revenue before your product even comes out. Right? And they actually brought the CSS because the Kickstarter didn't even comprehend that there could be a $10 million in there. Right? So it's amazing, this power of crowdsourcing that we're talking about here. And in the meantime, we're becoming so hyper-connected now. The world is flat, according to Tom Friedman, which is a good friend of ours. The third macro trend I want to quickly talk about is the distribution is unprecedented now, internet distribution especially. Right? It used to take, 100 years for telephones to go 100%? right? So in 1900, 10% of the families own a stove. 1915, own a car, own a fridge by 1930, and so forth. Today, more than 90% own all of the above, right? And this is a household gadget adoption, right? Boombox takes about 7 years to reach 60%. And you think that was fast? There's a faster one. It's called Sony PSP. And you think that was fast? There's Apple iPhone, which takes 10 quarters to reach 60 million users. And you think that was fast? There's an even faster one, right? There's iPad. And you think that was fast? There's an even faster one. It's called Android, which is about 6 times more than iPhone. And you think that was fast? There's an even faster one, Facebook. 1 billion users. We're talking about 1 billion customers here, right? And this is amazing. Like, we're talking about 1 billion users in a matter of 4 years. And you think that was fast? There's an even faster one. I'm talking about Cityville, which is that little Zynga game at the time. 100 million users in 45 days. I have no idea what that game does. I'll talk more about that later. So using the internet, you can essentially distribute a product to 3 billion people in a matter of no time, right? And this is what's amazing about internet. This is what's amazing about internet technology. And distribution fire hoses reach these 3 billion people instantly. And this is what we call fire hose, where you leverage a place where there were already millions of users, and you try to get their users to join us, right? A lot of people have done this. Airbnb has done this, allegedly, with Craigslist. And I'm sure you guys have heard of this, social video cam and that, those little sort of apps that you have to install before you. And from time to time, Facebook would do stupid thing, and then they would just give it out to everyone to make sure that they could steal their users from time to time. And then they realize that it's a stupid idea, and they will shut it down. So that's why running an internet is running a hedge fund now, right? You gotta be first at what you're doing, and when people catch up to it, you get a really, really bad ROI. And this is what I'm specializing in. Zynga, oh my God. $1.2 billion in 2011 revenue, just from Cityville, right? We're talking about, they say it's a social game. I actually think it's the least social game, right? Because you have to pester your friends to continue playing the games, right? And for some reason, 2% of the people would spend money paying $1 billion just buying virtual cows. I have no idea what the virtual cows are for. And the market segment, apparently I have a friend, I recently just hired a Zynga product manager, and he told me that the market segment is a housewife living in Germany at 50 to 60 years old. So apparently the virtual cows are useful for them. And this is all gamification, right? And this is why I want to, growth engineering is what, what essentially we're talking about here, which is a mix of engineering, analytics, and marketing, right? This is a new thing, essentially looking at data and make sure all the ROIs are there and so forth. And I have a team, about 10 data scientists that are essentially running that. And the person who runs it is the best poker player in Australia. He made $4 million, and he decided that it wasn't his thing, and then he came to work for us. So there's amazing stuff happening here that we like to call growth engineering, that essentially looking at data, mix it with analytics, mix it with science, and look at it from an engineering scope point of view, right? So one of the examples I could give you is, we are a marketplace. When you post a job, we have to make sure that you award to a freelancer who can complete a project. And we treat that as an engineering problem. So the guy actually came up with AI, a machine learning, that classifies, which is learning from the data, that could predict who is the best freelancer that could complete the project for you, right? And we're talking about this edge technology to actually be ahead in Australia. Apple Firehose, again, this is leveraging the place where you could leverage millions of users, right? At the time, they have a really poor search, right? And 3 students from Helsinki, Rovio, Angry Birds, actually made a lot of money of that, leveraging that. Right? It's because it's an information cascade. If you're number one, you'll always be number one, right? App Store didn't catch up to that. Right? And Angry Birds made a lot of money. Google Firehose, obviously, which Demand Media made a lot of money of it. They actually went at $1.5 billion market cap. The business was so egregious because they were creating contents to literally arbitrage Google. And there's a lot of other fire hoses. The last one, which is very quick, is every business today is an internet business. Right? And all this stuff is free. Just to start an internet business, you only take probably, $100, right? My girlfriend recently wanted to start an internet business. I was like, okay, cool. So I run a Shopify for her in 5 minutes. I find a dropshipping company for her so that she doesn't have to pay. And hire freelancers to data entry from 1 to the end for $50. That's all it takes for $100, and she's now making about $2,000 a month, which is good money. And this is one of the examples, right? Like you could essentially run a virtualized computer for $5 a month just to run a hotel reservation system, and this is the power of cloud. And and if it's not free, all of this stuff are cheap. And if you don't know anything about it, you can hire freelancers to do it for you. And you can essentially start a company off a credit card right now. Right? And the new venture capitalists are coming. They used to spend millions of dollars just to fund one company. Now it's different, right? 500 startups, right? They will fund $50,000 for one combinator, put 4 people in the room, 4 months, feed them noodles, and an amazing product will come out of it. And we're talking about this new venture capitalism. It's amazing. PC Tools, have you ever heard of it? So this is one of the guy who actually invested a lot in us in our early stage. He outsourced our original software. So there used to be a time when you have to install your antivirus, and you scan for free, and to fix it you have to pay, and you have to increase the credit card. So Simon, who is probably one of the best businessmen in Australia, came up with this idea of having it in online. So he outsourced this development for $1,000, right? And he was up to a point where he spent $40 million in Google advertising, and he made about $100 million revenue at the peak of his company. And he sold it for $300 million, and he later funded Freelancer. Retail Me Not is a coupon website built with $30 in one weekend and bootstrapped to $30 million in revenues. So we're talking about bootstrapping here and the power of crowd. You heard of this company? Yeah, Kaskus, 7 million users in Indonesia. Again, bootstrapped in Seattle, built with $50 in one weekend, and now allegedly $100 million in valuation. And many, many more, right? I just ran through it, and I was like, wow, let me look at all the bootstrap companies previous. Obviously, they have raised some money, it's not the fun. But Bukalapak, who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars in Indonesia, Tokopedia, who recently raised money from Sequoia, they're all bootstrapped. Canva, 99 Designs, and so forth. And it is so easy to start a company right now that you could essentially just spend $1,000 and have a minimum viable product to test the business. So there'll be 5 billion internet users by 2020. And one of the ways to get there is mobile. Right? So there's something to think about as well. Having a mobile, and this is sort of the graph that tells us how fast mobile internet is coming. And this is one of the ways to get them online fast. And this internet is so powerful. If you build a good product and you release it to everyone, you could get to 2% of the internet users in a matter of months. Right? Like, who would have thought? Right? Apparently, the dark matter of internet is women. Right? Pinterest. Right? Who would have thought that the Pinterest would be worth so much, right, just for scrapbooking? And that's amazing power of the internet. And to reach $1 billion in revenue is now faster than before. It used to be 8-9 years for Dell to reach $1 billion. Now it's 1 year, Groupon, and so forth, right? And the capital efficiency and the growth rates of the internet business models are now unprecedented. So welcome to the new technology industry, and welcome to the future. Thank you.
We've talked about yesterday, like with Ika and others, like, is it fair for people not to get paid and submit this stuff? What Freelancer is doing when it comes to like people who are not getting paid, not once, not twice, like what type of mechanics are you introducing in your platform?
One of our main metrics is the number of lives changed, which is essentially the number of people getting money. Right? So one of our metrics is to make sure not all the people, not the top 10 people making about 90% of the revenue, but to actually make it even. Okay. Right? And that's essentially the problem with all the developing countries. Right? If you're rich, you're ridiculously rich. Right. If you're poor, you're ridiculously poor. So that's one thing that we always try to do, to make sure that everyone gets the same amount of money, and the median of income is the same. So that there's not top 10 users that accounts for majority of the sort of the
And how
the
you do it? How you do it?
Data.
Okay.
A lot of data, a lot of making sure that the matchmaking ranking algorithm is fair, and I have about 15 machine learning guys to do that.
Amazing. Questions? Let's open up 2-3 questions here, and then.
What's in the future for freelancer.com as far as any new products or education type things you'll be focusing on?
So we recently released Local Jobs, which is a place for you to hire people around you. So think about if you could get someone to clean your house for $20 or $30. We already have the liquidity, right? We have freelancers spread around 75,000 cities. And that's something that we're doing, and we just released it 2 days ago. And there's sort of the future that we could think about as well. So Local Jobs, yeah. And obviously there are a lot of acquisitions that are going on as well that essentially try to make sure that the LTV, lifetime value of our users, are a lot more than now.
In the new sharing economy where there's the uncollared workforce and they're working across borders, taxes and regulation, how are you helping this new worker kind of deal with, being meeting all their legal obligations or taxation.
So that's what we try to do essentially, which is to have a local presence in literally every single country that we're dominant in. So we have a country manager in Asia, we have a regional director in Asia, we have country managers in many, many countries in Asia. And and that's why we have a local presence to make sure that they're educated, they're onboarded with the proper obligation around it. Now, having said that, the country doesn't really help us in terms of that. The regulation is so ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Like I recently just pitched my company in BKPM in Indonesia, and they rejected my application because the concept of marketplace apparently is so is so complicated for them, and they asked me to make it simple. So okay,
Yeah.
but we are trying our best on our side. But I think the countries, and the developing countries the governments have to probably do on their side as well.
What is your wish list from them?
Sorry.
What is your wish list from the government? What do you want them to tackle first?
Well, to make sure that these guys are, to make sure that this is being looked at, to make sure that the foreign investment can come over and not doing all this stuff that, sort of hamper the foreign companies to come over and try to change their lives. And
Right.
we're trying to give revenue to Indonesia. We're trying to give tax. And they're like, no, it's too complicated. And I had to fly for 7 hours just to pitch on that. And I had to wait for 2 hours.
One more question? Anyone? Come on. One more.
Thanks for all the great information. I'm curious what the average age is of the freelancers.
So it's about 25 to 35, so it's very, very young. And that actually matches with the average age at freelancer.com, our employees as well. We only have 3 people above 40, and that's Matt Berry, our CFO. And so a lot of people are young.
what freelancers doing for the silver age, like baby boomers?
Baby boomers?
Yeah.
So we do have, which is the skills that sort of we, this I think this aligns more with the macro trends that a lot of young people are coming online. So and we look at it from macro level, so we don't actually go and tackle age by
Right.
age. Yeah. And the reason why the internet companies are of young people is because it's a new industry. No one knows what to do, and it's probably better to hire a graduate and train them.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you. This
guys.
is really great. And here's the
thank you.
gift from us. So
Cheers.
yeah.